It's that time. It's time to finish the revival series of iCarly, and I'm not that sad. Honestly, this entire thing felt like a revival that has been stretched out so far, and not in like a negative way. I'm not saying this was a waste of time or that I didn't enjoy most of these episode watches. It definitely brought a new identity to the iCarly series, and being a franchise now, it's almost got new expectations. You know, there's a movie in the works, but hey, we're not going to get into all that. We need to talk about the episodes themselves. Everybody online warned me that it gets better and better, and you know what? You guys set me up a little too much because it doesn't get that much better, okay? Spoiler alert, it gets pretty mid in this experience. When you really think about it, there's no other show that is properly maintaining the life of influencers. You know, like no mainstream TV usually talks about this as much as iCarly does, so it's cool to have that in a time where it's all of us navigating it anyway. You know, the same way the media culture was in the 2000s when iCarly came out, it's teaching us how to understand it, and that's something I really like. We start with the first episode of season 3 with iBuckled, and buckled is a term they use in this world, which is like, oh, like you're falling for somebody, your knees are buckled.
I want someone that I am crazy about. Someone that makes my knees buckle.
Which, never heard ever. If you guys have heard that before, please let me know in the comments, but I'm so unsure of it. It starts out in the first couple minutes as a proposal, and Freddie is holding a ring to Carly, who says yes.
Yes!
It's covered in my mother's spit.
I'm gonna stop right here, guys. We have to backtrack a second. Not sure if you remember, but by the end of season 2, things got a little bit weird between Carly and Freddie, okay? Not gonna lie. It was Freddie's birthday, and Carly ended up throwing this whole surprise party, and Pearl, who was currently Freddie's girlfriend, just did not know a single thing about him. And they've told us time and time again about their chemistry, put flaws into their relationship to kind of insinuate that it's not gonna last forever, which, by the way, is not subtle enough. I wish I could see them getting along and actually root for Pearl and Freddie, so that way I am more worried for Carly, but no, like, they definitely show you that this relationship is not gonna work out, and they have no intention on keeping them together, so whatever, we're gonna move on from that. But this new third season comes in with a lot of tension.
Yay! Pearl's here! Everybody look, it's Pearl, and she's here! A toast to Pearl! Who is here?
And it almost feels like a more serialized season, as opposed to the first 2 seasons where they're just like, the plot starts and ends at the end of the 20 minutes. This one, I swear, keeps going. Not in a negative way. We learned through dialogue in the first episode that Freddie and Carly had no conversation about what they talked about in the last season. Like, it was really awkward after Pearl ended up walking out on his birthday, which I don't know how he forgave her for that. To me, that's like a little bit too far, but hey, I guess we're just moving on. You know, sometimes adulthood is messy, and it's good to highlight that, I guess. We learned pretty quickly that the proposal was definitely not for Carly. It was just a wink to the audience to get us to get our hopes up and think that we could just move on past the drama, but no, we're still in it. Freddie's mom proposing to Lubert. Okay, yeah, it's kind of sweet that we brought Lubert back and he's gonna be like kind of a main character, especially since I Object Lubert from the second season was such a funny episode. And the fact that Freddie's mom is the one proposing definitely catches us up with the times, which iCarly was very known for doing, like showing all the progressive stuff about our culture. Like, that's pretty interesting.
I'm engaged! I'm gonna dig up my mom and laugh at her face!
So Carly and Freddie confide within their friends. Freddie confides within Spencer and Carly with Harper about everything that went on between them, and they do a good job at like catching us up. Oh my god, Spencer says he's too smart for therapy. That is the funniest thing I think I've seen.
I can't do therapy. Too smart for it.
Spencer is definitely a lot funnier right off the bat. I like him and Freddie's relationship, although it does make it seem a little convenient that the characters only hang out with each other and no outside world character. You know, like, it just makes it feel unrealistic. But that's gonna come up a couple times in this season, and I'm not proud. But please explain to me why Lubert and Millicent are so buddy-buddy. Like, what in the world do these two have in common? It's nice to see a more positive side of Lubert, like maybe he's looking for love. Reminds me of that episode in the original iCarly where the team brought back his lost love and and he became even more angry. Like, that was such a funny episode, and it feels a lot more weaved into this plot. So we throw Paul back into the mix, and this is a part that kind of bothers me. He's essentially Carly's manager, and it's so cool to have Josh Peck be in the iCarly universe, considering all the background and Drake and Josh. Like, it's definitely a spiritual successor in a way. And he's basically trying to set Carly up with a reality show. Like, she should be on something to promote herself, which is actually a pretty good idea. But the lines they write for Josh kind of teeter on being funny in the sense that it's kind of like his old neurotic self, but this guy is more of a producer, headstrong. So when he hears about this love triangle going on between Carly and Freddie and then Freddie and Pearl, he's like, we need to lean into that and make your life about that.
Oh, so it's a love triangle? Because that's a hook. Amore triangular. Amore triangular.
Which is actually a pretty good commentary. That is totally how it is nowadays. Turning real life into content, not thinking about how that's gonna affect people. And then it becomes kind of like the I Saved TV episode of iCarly, where Josh brings together everybody. Oh, I keep calling him Josh Paul. So Paul brings together Carly, Spencer, and everybody to film a show. And he even finds somebody that could be somewhat related to Carly, but it's just another influencer. He just wants to get her on the show. A lot of small pokes at the entertainment industry in kind of a negative way, given everything going on in it. I don't know, it's kind of sad to think about. So I don't like watching it on iCarly. Spencer keeps insisting he's going to be the host of this, but that's like not that type of show. Kind of funny, but it doesn't actually go anywhere until he actually gets on camera and tries to host it.
Welcome back to the most dramatic episode of any show ever. Still in play are 2 immunity idols, 4 roses, and a lip sync for your life. And it all starts now.
But I wish they actually leaned into it more and had him try to do that. It's just like a one-off joke that doesn't last. They reference the episode from iCarly, I Saved TV a bunch of times because the last time she did a TV show, she was replaced, which features Andre Harris, kind of a huge throwback because Victorious didn't even happen by the time that episode came out. Incredible. Paul does something kind of shady. He brings Freddie and Pearl onto set and actually tries to incorporate them without Carly's consent.
Amore triangular.
And this is so annoying. So the way he does this is he gets these aerial silking things set up in Spencer's home, which is kind of insane. And they try to bring in the drama between Freddie and Carly live on the screen. Paul is definitely not a good character in this moment, and it kind of bothers me. I feel like he could come with better intentions, but the writers didn't figure it out far enough. It feels like a very first draft type of thinking where it's like, I want to see more. But seeing Jerry Trainer act with Josh Peck is super awesome. It definitely gives me some nostalgic vibes. Meanwhile, Millicent is asked to be the officiant to Lubert and Freddie's mom's wedding, which, why? That's the part that's so unrealistic. Like, these guys don't have any friends or loved ones outside of the show. Like, I just don't believe it. After the drama of the reality show kind of calms down, Freddie and Carly actually kind of meet up and talk about when they're gonna talk about stuff. We pretty much end on, hey, we need to be just friends, that being your friend is the best thing I could ever be, and it's like, oh, so annoying. I do think the friend zone is like an overplayed subject, but with this, it's like hard to ignore because it's coming from the 2000s. Like, how do you just ditch the tropes that set up this very show? It's hard. But hey, we see Carly by the end of the episode find out that her knees are buckled, which means she might be falling for Freddie. Oh my gosh. And that's the perfect way to end this episode. I like that they didn't throw us into the relationship, but they still kind of gave us a peek into what they could start pursuing. Of course, there's gonna have to be a lot of mess before there's the beauty. At the end, we have like a little talking head and like the actual episode that came out of Paul's filming earlier, and it's called House of Shay, which I would love to see that show. See, why can't we just not do an iCarly reboot, but a House of Shay reboot? Yeah, first episode definitely introduces some interesting concepts. I like that we use the term buckled outside of just this episode. In fact, it's in its name. And getting introduced to a final season is just all around cool. Then we get to episode 2. It's called I Love Your Shoes. And it's so funny because it's a play on the catty term that people use to each other when they're trying to show it's an anti-compliment. You know, it's like, I like your shoes, meaning like nothing else about you is appropriate right now. And it's hard because it's between Carly and Pearl this whole episode. Of course it is. Freddie cannot stop bringing in drama. We see that Carly is trying to get over Freddie by being a part of literally every dating app there is known to man, which is definitely red flag for me right away, especially given Carly being more prudish in this department. But it does open up to a lot of jokes about that. And they talk about the knees buckling again, which is kind of cool. Like, we actually acknowledge that Carly might have a crush on Freddy, and it's pretty directly understood. And this is something unique that I don't think we saw in the first series, of it following one character's issues so closely that every scene is kind of prompted based on that one person's issues. And it sounds a little broad, but I mean, iCarly was an ensemble show. All the characters had issues, and it kind of worked around being like everybody figuring it out together. And this feels more like Carly's journey, this whole show, and everybody else is more supporting it, and it's just going by regular script standards. But hey, that's a positive and negative. You know, the original show would go off structure so often to a point of like just making this plot unnecessary, so I like that this show actually has a backbone to it. They have an app called Sevens Only, which that's kind of a funny joke. I like that that's even possible. In the B-plot for this next episode, we have Harper trying to impress this old girl that used to bully her, apparently, and she wants to be styled for the Net Gala, which is an online gallery event, and I don't know, what's this like through line of Harper only finding love interests in the people she works with? Like, she just goes out of her way to be involved with bosses that she also styles for. Like, I don't understand why it just has to be a recurring thing for her. So Carly goes on a date with some new random guy she met on an app who is really into building things, and he's just like, I don't find you funny, which I don't either, Carly. And it's kind of fulfilling to hear somebody directly address it to her. Like, it was not like that in the first series. Like, they were always treated like they were famous, and here it's like they're ordinary. Spencer has his own plot line too, which is kind of awesome, where he's worried that he falls under the 1% of people that are too rich to be ordinary, and his art is going to suffer because of it.
There's no one more average than me. I'm the Maroon 5 of people.
So he commits his whole life to being an average Joe. And I wish they did better with this plot. I feel like he's just bothering people, and none of the gags are super physical. It's all just him talking about how he's rich and like trying to be an average person. And it's like, Spencer is so funny with physical comedy. I think he needs more of it in this show, you know? So they're all at Shea What again, which is crazy. They just use the same sets over and over again, when Freddie and Carly have like another interaction, and you could tell there's a lot of chemistry between the two. Carly says that her type is nerdy, and I am realizing how our perspective on men acting has changed since the original series. It's interesting because I feel like the Big Bang Theory came along and introduced this whole nerd culture of, we're all aware that nerds are the ones who get ahead in life, and the long-term payout of a relationship with a nerd is a bigger deal. And, you know, so now Freddie is finally on the market and interesting to Carly, and I really hope she's not, you know, that shallow, that she's only doing that because that's just how nerds are perceived now, but it is an interesting thing to note. I mean, back then, episodes were all about dating a bad boy and being with guys that are kind of toxic. Like, even Tori Vega has a song about it in Victorious. There's a lot of information out there about that. Carly's new boyfriend makes her a canoe, which they put in their apartment.
My new guy made me a canoe.
And this is kind of like a sad attempt at trying to recreate the randomness of the original, but this isn't like random enough. Like, it's kind of connected to this new guy she's seeing, and it doesn't feel like relevant to the plot at all. It just feels like a reason to have something more interesting in a scene. And I can't get over Spencer's outfit in this. She calls him the king of the Teletubbies, and I kind of love that. So Harper pretends that Spencer's place is hers, so that way when she has this girl Tinsley over that could potentially be her boss, she can impress her a lot better. But Spencer comes out and starts acting like an average Joe, which, by the way, why is he just putting on this persona in front of this woman? I gotta admit, it's funny hearing him say forget about it.
Forget about it!
And act like a Jersey guy. I don't know why that's considered the average person, but hey, that's just him being funny. And yeah, I feel like the characters are just so focused on trying to say things that fall into their character's niche that they forget about reality. Freddie takes Pearl, and Carly takes her new boyfriend to this axe throwing place, which is a super millennial thing to do. I literally had a work event the other day where I was taken to a axe throwing event, and it's an interesting social convention, and I like that they're actually having it put into this. It almost is like the escape room concept. It's really just a backdrop for drama to go down, and it does. Because once Carly compliments this girl on her shoes, Pearl, yeah, then there's no turning back.
I love your shoes. You love my shoes?
That is so sweet of you, Carly.
I love your shoes.
And of course, Freddy is like not understanding why everybody's so aggressive for the rest of the episode. But it's essentially like a very hidden cat fight, which I actually think is very well written. I really like the writers that like they're actually diving into real conflicts that like that's actually how we communicate. There's kind of a wacky moment where this drama all culminates in Pearl getting with Carly's new boyfriend, and then Freddy is just kind of left in the dust because Pearl thinks that Freddy's with Carly. I don't know why the relationship just didn't end when it did. It kind of bothers me and makes me look down on Freddy a little bit more, but hey, we can't have a perfect world, can we? This is low-key a relief for Carly, but when she sees Freddy's reaction, she kind of feels bad, and reality kind of sets in that she likes him, but he doesn't really have a response to that, so this isn't necessarily a good thing for him, it just happens. And then meanwhile, Harper finally gets a kiss from Tinsley, and I guess that means they start working together. Super inappropriate relationship, but that's just how it's gonna be, I guess. So Carly and Freddy have another conversation together alone at the end of the episode. At least it's at Freddy's place instead of Carly's this time, but it's not so different. It's the same conversation about how they're happy just being friends. And then they have like a weird hug, and Spencer just ends the entire episode on making even more money, which actually is kind of a backtrack in terms of his character. Like, it's not like he grew from the situation, he just realized that he wants to make money again. I don't know, that was kind of a weird ending for me. And then episode 3 is iMake New Memories, and this one is really cute. I feel like at first I thought it would be kind of cringy because it's like harping too much on everything that happened in the original series, but I think they do a good job at recreating it. And this is a very special episode because, spoiler alert, and yeah, it is a spoil, Freddy and Carly get together in this episode. Did I scare you? I scared myself a little bit because I did that noise at the end. Remember that? So we're back into the normal everyday life. Freddy and Carly are filming iCarly. They're doing another ridiculous sketch, which, by the way, could be funnier. You guys have time to think about it. We know the internet world now. And of course, this guy is just like essentially Carly's lapdog. I don't know how he's not learned anything, like cutting off Carly. Like, they don't address that at all. Carly pretty much spells out to Spencer that she still has a crush on him. This is an interesting episode because Carly just kind of goes about her life very differently now that she's accepted that she likes Freddy. And it's very admirable because at least she has a goal this time around. It starts to feel a little bit more Zoe 101 in that sense, where Carly is essentially chasing Freddy and we're following her perspective. The concept of the episode comes into play when Carly's hard drive is broken by Spencer because of an art project. There's like a funny moment where they're trying to like revive the hard drive, but it just doesn't work. And yeah, so she loses 15 years of photos on it because she doesn't trust the cloud.
You know I don't trust the cloud. How does it even work? You throw your phone in the sky and wait for it to rain?
Which, that's a good joke. I like that that's part of it. So she's like freaking out, definitely an OCD-like tendency, but also relatable for millennials. I feel like everybody's a little OCD in that sense. But like Spencer says, it's an oversimplification. So Freddy has this idea of recreating the memories, and I don't know why. I don't know what show I've seen this in before. I don't know what trope this is connected to, but it cringes me out a little bit. Concept of recreating memories, especially in this day and age, it feels a little inauthentic. But then again, most content is filmed in an inauthentic way. I don't know why it makes me feel weird. Maybe because it's not planned. That seems a little weird. Meanwhile, Millicent and Harper have a whole plot line where Harper's trying to make the perfect dress for Freddy's mom. Freddy's mom is super picky about it and critiques everything she does, which is kind of funny for Freddy's mom. I do love Freddy's mom. I feel like she leans into be a little too neurotic in the new series. Before, we kind of understood her motherly worries and we respected her character because she was very caring. But here she's just off the wall and choosing Lubert over all these like normal things in life, and that kind of bothers me. That's the cost of Mrs. Benson. So the memories thing doesn't end up lasting super long, so the cringiness isn't that bad.
Work the trash, be the trash, you are the trash.
They recreate the moment that Freddy saved her from getting hit by that car, which, if you guys can remember the I Saved Your Life episode, okay, we have to take a break for that. iCarly, I Saved Your Life is the episode where Carly almost got hit and Freddy took the fall, and they ended up sharing a kiss for the first time, which is why it's no coincidence Carly wanted to have this memory be that one. And it's weird because it's like Carly's almost like using this as a mode of getting Freddy to realize he has feelings for her again, when really it's like all new for her. Like Freddy's had feelings for for you for so long. Like, even back then, he was just harping over you, so it makes sense that it's like kind of her time to start doing some of the chasing. It's fair too, because it's like men shouldn't be chasing women all the time. Like, you gotta let women take control in that sense. Carly and Freddie end up slow dancing together. Meanwhile, Carly tells Freddie they are going to have another surprise. It's Freddie visiting Carly in Italy. So apparently this little backstory, this is why it reminds me of Zoe 101. In the Zoe 101 reunion, Chase and Zoe are revealed to have had a rocky relationship after they left the series, and you know, we just don't get to know what that conflict was, and it takes place modern day where it's kind of like the backstory of their issues, but they don't necessarily resolve it. And that's kind of going on with Freddie and Carly. They're talking about this moment that happened off screen that we don't know 100% everything about, which actually makes me interested to keep watching. I love how this goes. So Carly recreates this night in Italy with Spencer dressed up as the photographer, and the memory is like, oh, them taking a picture together, but it's got a little bit more than that. When Carly sets this up, brings Freddie in, it seems like it's this romantic moment, but it's actually completely miscommunicated. And Freddie's like, you made the worst night of my life a reality. Turns out he left that night in Italy when Carly thought everything was all cool, and he slept at the airport because he was just so tired of the rejection, which is so real. And Carly doesn't see his side at all. She's just very much like, oh, I never did that to you. Like, this never really happened. I like this flaw. This is a good flaw to have because I want to see the character, you know, overcome it. So this puts a giant divide between Carly and Freddie once again, because we love having that happen. And of course they have trouble talking to each other. Always in these sitcoms. And Harper points out very gently that Carly has not directly told him how she feels, so that entire memory was made out of context. Meanwhile, after Harper multiple times does not find a way to make this dress work, she gets the weirdest possible combo to show Mrs. Benson, and she thinks it's genius. Okay, so she finally solves the problem by doing something really weird, something only Miss Benson would like. And I just wish we got more time with Millicent and Harper. It's almost like they're set pieces and it's only following one character. Like, it just feels like the show is like just trying to follow script writing rules more than they even care about the characters themselves. Freddie and Spencer have a little heart-to-heart, which I kind of think is sweet. I wish they talked about it a little bit more. And we think that Carly left and they're not gonna be friends anymore, until Freddie goes upstairs, only to find out that Carly actually made a giant mural of these pictures with the two together. And it's very sweet to imagine all these memories they shared together, how much they cared. Oh, it's so nice. And she tells Freddie finally for the first time that she likes him. And honestly, this is kind of sweet. I think she could have done one of two things. She could have told him she liked him like she did. Great. Everything falls in line and they're in love. Or she could have like kind of said it and he could have said it for her to show how close they are and compatible. And Carly didn't need to say, I like you, Freddie Benson. Like, she loves him. Like, she definitely could not be afraid to go all the way. But hey, honestly, if we're thinking about people's perspectives, I think it is like a realistic expectation to do what she did. They share a kiss and nothing will ever be the same. We get a quick glance into what this life is going to be like in the final scene, which thank God we're not just having Freddie and Carly talk again. And yeah, it's weird seeing them finally together. I was not expecting that. That's when we get to episode 4, I Go Public. And this is where we actually start seeing Carly and Freddie be in a relationship. They're very lovey and giddy, which is actually really sweet. It's really easy to separate this from the Sam and Freddie relationship because theirs were just toxic and fighting. It is interesting to see how the relationships have matured, and I can't get over how Freddie has barely changed since even the Sam kissing plotline. Like, look at him. He looks just as young as he's always looked, and I think that's a compliment. Meanwhile, they do a live stream and Carly's asked a question that can kind of allude to her being in a relationship, but she avoids it. She consistently avoids going public with her relationship with Freddie. And at first you're like, okay, this has got to be like a good reason. Maybe she just doesn't want to like ruin the magic of it all, but she kind of doesn't have a great reason. She just doesn't want it to be commercialized. And this is such a real problem in the world of social media that I completely forgot about. If you're in a relationship, like, post about it. Like, you want to have an official declaration of your love, and that's just normal, unless both of you are anti-social media. In that case, you lucked out. But I was one of the people that was pretty self-conscious when I was dating somebody and they weren't comfortable posting pictures together. You know, like, there's just something about it that reads a little shameful. So Freddie is understandably insecure about this. In the B plot, it kind of feels like an old recycled Spencer plot when he found the old Pac-Man machine and then he got like obsessed with it and like Carly had to help him out of it. Like that kind of reminds me of this. He gets this giant mechanical possum in the style of Chuck E. Cheese that's going to stand throughout his new restaurant. And hey, he got it from Sacco. I'm just glad Sacco gets a reference. I'm just mad they didn't bring the actual actor in, but at least we acknowledge he still exists. They keep referencing Sully Sullenberger, which is a famous pilot that landed an airplane into the water. And it's interesting they brought this up because I've been watching Nathan For You, The Rehearsal, and he has an entire season based on this man. And it's just so interesting to see it come up in iCarly like a little bit before. Did iCarly predict Nathan For You? Meanwhile, Freddie and Spencer start spitballing on ways they could go public in a really, really special way. So Spencer has the idea to get a bunch of drones to spell out in the sky. And he references Frasier, like, oh, that's a funny reference. And then they're gonna bring Carly to the roof, and it's just gonna be so magical. Which, obviously, if you know Carly, that's gonna be very nerve-wracking. Again, I still don't feel like they have a good reason to hide this relationship, especially since they're both public figures. They're the only two people that work together. Why would anybody be super surprised? This little possum robot thing starts attacking people, and it becomes literally a horror show. Has a deep voice and says, like, you don't want to see me angry.
If you leave, I might get angry.
And you don't want to see me angry.
And I can't believe how far this goes. Carly's able to pretty much guess that Freddie's gonna go public with this whole thing, and Spencer has to keep it a secret, which obviously he's not good at. By the way, could have had more fun with this. Spencer's a quirky guy. They could have had a more interesting argument. But hey, that's just me. Freddie ends up setting up a live stream on the roof to make this whole thing public, and he hides the camera. When Carly meets him up there, she confronts him, and she destroys the satellite that is controlling the drones.
I'm doing this for us.
And Carly, I get that you don't want to be known publicly, but this is such an overdramatic response to this. Like, you could literally just say, I don't want to do this. And that's what bugs me about the writing here. It's like, you could have put her in a situation where that was the only thing she could have done. It just felt random. Freddie keeps asking her why she doesn't want to go public, and she's like running out of answers. And soon enough, they find out they're actually locked on the roof, which is not that big of a deal because they're dating and usually on a pretty good note. Like, we started the episode with them really in love, so I don't know why this is even gonna feel like a threat. The stakes do not feel high here. So while they're stuck on the roof, Millicent and Harper are trying to team up on the possum after hours, with Spencer being the one to finally take him on. He goes in for a special hug, and the possum actually starts to beat up Spencer. Oh my god, it's kind of scary. Carly and Freddie have a heart-to-heart on the roof, which is actually nice. Like, the switch of location and the circumstances make for like a really intimate conversation. And Freddie's fedora is probably my favorite part of this episode. Like, look at that thing. That's awesome. Carly reveals that she just doesn't want the internet to attack Freddie, which I think is a fair thing, but hey, if you didn't want that to happen, you should have said that like 20 years ago when original iCarly started. So as they finally make up, they learn later that the entire live stream was recording this whole thing. So their relationship went public already, and in a most intimate way it could have gone. And they kiss on screen, cute, and the drones explode. Wow, so they actually do have this like super nice announcement. It's not super conventional, but it's very sweet nonetheless. And they keep referencing the fact that they want the fireworks to look like a lighthouse, but obviously it doesn't, so kind of cringe. But yeah, everybody celebrates on the roof, which I don't know if that was that celebratory of an event to happen, but hey, it was cool. The next episode is probably one of the most interesting that I feel like this show could possibly have covered. The episode's called iFaked It, by the way. Deep fakes. Do you know what a deep fake is? Okay, so a deep fake is when somebody takes your image and falsely like makes an AI version of you. And it's kind of crazy because I don't think AI was as intense 2 years ago as it even is today. Like, this is like in our common daily life now.
Comes from deep learning technology, a type of AI that creates algorithms to do things like swap faces to make realistic looking fake media.
Computers.
Spencer is FaceTiming Carly, which is kind of funny because like they live right next to each other. Why would they be doing this in general? And immediately the real Carly walks in, only making the connection that how in the world is he talking to him?
G2G! Bye, brother!
this is a funny episode. If this show became more like an educational show that just had the characters be ridiculous, I think it would be just as funny. So then we have to explain to the millennial Spencer what deepfakes are, which I already explained to you, so you can't say anything about it. Freddy, of course, is extremely good at this stuff and knows what the algorithm is and how to swap the faces, which is cool. Freddy actually is relevant to this episode. That is very in line with his character. Meanwhile, this fake Carly keeps promoting something called Tastes Familia, which is interesting because it's like endorsed by Carly Shay, and it's just disgusting meat with a picture of her on it. It's like one of those brand deals gone wrong situations.
Guys, this obviously isn't me. I use napkins.
And it's so funny to think that like a deep fake would be just to get money out of people like that. Like that is such an interesting plot. So now Carly has to somehow track down this person. Of course, the cops wouldn't do anything about it because it's not going on in person. And that's such a messed up thing about our society right now.
Maybe we should call the cops? Yeah.
Oh, you're serious?
Like, just the internet has no policing still. It's kind of scary. And yeah, this is a real world topic that's actually happening. Meanwhile, an influencer is trying the new meat and she throws up. So this whole thing is going to ruin Carly's reputation. Meanwhile, Harper is developing a relationship with Tinsley and it becomes a lot more intimate. Like, she wants Harper to meet her friend. When they do, this guy is actually kind of out to get her and constantly is like putting her down in really ridiculous ways.
OMG, you are serving a disgusting, Queen.
And Tinsley is so close to this guy, it almost like feels inappropriate to stand up for herself. So Harper just has to pretend like this is okay. So Carly goes on the internet to try to call out the fake Carly and actually pull her up on the internet.
I, Carly Shay, am the victim of a deep fake. I'll let that sink in.
And then we get two Carlys right next to each other, and even the right one looks more like her than even the left one. I'm surprised at that. So the fake Carly is able to psych out the whole audience and make it look like the real Carly is not the real one. When they try to identify who this could possibly be, they start naming a bunch of old characters, and it's very nostalgic of a moment. And then when they land on Neville Papperman, I'm like, yes, another episode with Neville. So they end up meeting in this like evil lair with no street parking, they say.
I can't believe Neville invited us to an evil lair with no street parking.
Only to confront Neville in his whole endeavor. And he is tricked out with his wife. The two are in mobster outfits, ready to confront Carly.
There have been two great loves of my life. My beloved wife, Prunella, and The Godfather. A film I have never seen.
Meanwhile, Prunella, which is Neville's wife, is obsessed with Carly and thinks they're best friends, and that's a little too outlandish for me to like fall for. This character is really starting to bother me because it just doesn't work. We learn that Neville and his partner are having a lot of problems in the bedroom, which is kind of interesting that they even go onto that topic, and that's kind of the justification for why he did this. So he says there's nothing they could do about it, and they just kind of walk away. It kind of ends there. Spencer laughs with them, which is super inappropriate. I really feel like it's not even that funny to make up for the character flaw of him laughing at somebody who's bullying his sister. I don't think that's necessary. So we get another moment with Harper and Tinsley's friend actually says he's going to kill Harper, which is crazy. It's because he gets spoiled by all of her and her rich money. Definitely a Housewives themed plot, if you ask me. Harper just wants to coexist, but this guy is not open to that. This guy's a jerk. Meanwhile, the cast convene at Spencer's apartment playing pool only to figure out how they're going to take down Neville. And it bothers me that they come up with it in this scene. There's not just like a bunch of new directions they could take, problems not being solved. And then we get Freddie Benson, the live stream. I don't even know why Freddie would be recognized. They just have a doppelganger of him in cyberspace, and he's jacked. Yeah, the current Freddie is like really upset that the other one is attractive, which I find hilarious. So they all get into battle gear uniforms, which I wish there was like a logical reason for this, just to back up how funny it is, but it's not.
Hear my battle cry!
And Carly and Freddie have their first like little relationship disagreement where Freddie is trying to rein Carly in, and I feel like that's fair. Dang, I really wish Sam was involved in this season, because seeing Carly and Freddie be together without Sam like witnessing it or being there in the room feels a little off. It like makes it seem like that original stuff was not necessary. So Harper tries to open up to Tinsley, but she can't really get it out there that he's dangerous. And we learned that the friend was actually trying to poison Harper. So he wasn't even kidding about trying trying to kill her, which is really desperately scary. So Tinsley and him are no longer friends, and Harper and her are closer as a relationship. Kind of an anticlimactic ending, but hey, at least their guys' relationship is super strong. In the next scene, Neville just admits online that they were the deep fakers to try to ruin Carly's credibility, and it feels very anticlimactic. Like, what? And they just kind of write it off as like, it's because of our bed life, and like, oh my gosh. We learn pretty quickly that Carly and Spencer were the ones, and these were deep fakes of the actual people, which is kind of actually a smart turnaround. Freddy's knowledge finally came in and actually went well. So Prunella decides to leave Neville, which actually leaves him like super desperate. And we learn that like the whole Carly Shay deepfake thing is the only thing that kept their relationship together. A little too funny to be realistic, honestly. But yeah, they end up staying together, and that's just their comeuppance, I guess. Yeah, overall, I like this episode a lot. But yeah, we're officially halfway through the iCarly third season. Number 6 is iReunited, and it felt okay. And you'll see why this title represents the entire episode for me pretty clearly. It feels so weird because it talks about the fact that Carly left for Italy in the middle of high school, not actually finishing her graduation, which is actually kind of sad. I can't believe they really like stuck to that as the in-universe way of her life. Like, it feels like she missed out on a lot. And that's kind of what the episode's about, is like both of them going to this reunion at high school, and everything is just different, like how she remembers it. She remembers Freddy being this like dorky kid when really he's a part of all these clubs and actually fitting in, which does fall in line with the whole nerd culture bit. Like, I feel like everybody that was a nerd in high school thrived or like succeeded past expectations after it was over, and that's definitely touched on in this entire episode. We get a lot of fun fan favorites coming back, like Rip-Off Rodney. Don't know why he needed to come back, but okay, cool, nice to see him again. This is another time where I'm like really sad that Sam's not involved or Gibby's not here. Like, why can't they be a part of it? I just want them to be a part of it. But hey, I'm not gonna judge. I'm gonna let it happen. The only featured character is James Maslow from Big Time Rush, which I'm super excited about because I love Big Time Rush. So he plays his former character Shane, but this time he is a gym coach, and a really jerky gym coach at that. Like, I feel like this character is really rude for no reason, and he's just talking about gym all the time. I don't even believe it. Carly's whole intention of going into this is to get a class photo that she'd never gotten before, because apparently that didn't happen. They also introduced a bunch of random characters that they assume could have been in this universe, which is kind of annoying. Like, I don't know why you would just bring them in for 1 minute to do a barely funny joke and then disappear. Whatever, that's just normal, I guess. The B-plot is actually the most crazy B-plot in any TV show I think I've ever seen. It's just Harper walking into Spencer's apartment. He has like 10 kids there with him, and we think it's just gonna be like a funny, silly plot, like, oh, he's doing a summer camp. Turns out all these kids are his. He used to donate to a sperm bank, and every single kid there is his offspring. Oh my god. What a crazy, crazy addition to the iCarly universe that I did not see coming or want to figure out what's happening. It's like that whole Nick Cannon thing where he's had more than like a normal amount of kids, like 10, and it's just, I can't believe it played out this way. And it kind of makes Spencer look like a little bit worse of a person, the way he's like dismissing it so much. So I'm kind of upset that they made this a part of the whole thing, especially for somebody who cares about like kids and like summer camps, and like, I don't know, I feel like this is just, it seems like abandonment issues all over the place. And Harper at first is like not believing him until they all show signs that like things catch on fire because of them.
Sometimes I just touch things and they burst into flames.
I know, my beloved. I know.
Like, all this different stuff. It just feels like a joke gone way too far, and it's like, I don't even know how to laugh at it for that long. Carly learns in this episode that she didn't technically graduate because she didn't pass gym class.
Am I dating a high school dropout? Am I a bad boy?
Which is kind of ridiculous. The rest of this episode becomes an attempt for her to beat the physical part of her gym test and get her diploma, which kind of crazy that that's how it happens, but whatever. Of course, Shane is the one in charge of it, and we see his really like jerky side a lot of times. I can't believe Carly is trying to fit this entire experience into the course of a reunion. I get it. Sometimes it's just like ridiculous, and it's fun to be ridiculous in iCarly, but this one feels like so unrealistic, it's like hard to believe. leave. Like, she doesn't care about talking or mingling with anybody else there. She just wants to go off and do her own thing. It just reads as like kind of selfish to me. She can't finish the toe touch, which is even more insane. And it leads to like this really crazy situation where Shane gets stuck in the rafters before they're about to get their picture, and he can't get down, so Carly has to do the toe and touch in order to get him down. So therefore she saves his life and also is able to graduate, which is all around like very confusing that this is the way it played out. It's almost like so confusing it's not fun to watch. It's like me figuring it out. This episode all around like a pretty big miss for me. I like what they were trying to do. I like all the nostalgia characters coming back. Like the principal's back, but he's kind of like an irresponsible adult that's just drinking the whole time. Like I don't think he needed to be there, let alone for only a negative reason. poor Mr. Franklin. But yeah, the rest of the episode just seems really hard to watch. And speaking of which, the entire plot about Spencer and his kids are that he's trying to get their faces in this mural, like a part of an art sculpture. Okay, good tie-in. But it becomes about one too many kids are there, so they have to figure out which kid isn't Spencer's actual kid. Crazy concept. So yeah, they keep checking out the kids for attributes that align with Spencer's, which can't be the only way you could tell the identity of a kid. I don't know. To me, it seems too far. And even by the end, when they figure everything out and the one kid's mom comes back, Spencer just flirts with her and it kind of ends there. Like they go out on a date, I'm assuming, after this. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a proper resolve. It feels like a joke that went too far, became a part of the lore, and then got really awkward, and now it's just here. I don't even know how to handle all this. This episode, all around, it made me not know how to feel about the entire rest of the series. I can't believe they brought in such a heavy thing like that and just casually are just gonna maintain it to not only this episode, but the B plot of this episode. Like, you're kidding me, right? Why couldn't Carly or Freddie be involved in this? This is a funny idea, which you could have taken more time to develop and had a full episode, but no, it's just a 5-minute joke, which I can't believe this is a joke. iReunited and it felt okay is definitely getting a weird review from me. Not completely bad, but not completely good. Just don't know how to make of it. The next one we have continues the lore of Freddie's mom being married to Lou Bird. So yeah, they're all getting ready for this huge wedding that's gonna happen at the end of the season. Cool that we're actually building towards something. Never done on iCarly before. Gotta give some praise to that. But Carly is in charge of the bachelorette party. It's gonna be her, Millicent, Freddie's mom, and this woman. The whole center point of this episode is the tension between Freddie's mom and Carly, with all this built up tension on the mom's side, where she doesn't really like to acknowledge Carly because of all the stuff she put her son through, which, okay, that's fair. I definitely think they were very touch and go for 15 years. Yeah, Carly and Freddie are complicated.
My mom kind of thinks that you're impulsive, unreliable, disrespectful to elders, and prone to hijacking a weekend.
Is that all?
No, she also thinks you have poor posture, but that's all.
So Carly plans this whole adventure where they're flipping a house, which for some reason sounds exciting to her, especially on a bachelorette party. Kind of like the show Freddie's mom watches, but not enough. And they show up only to find out that they're responsible for constructing this entire home.
The brochure made it seem less, methy?
They essentially get trapped into doing so when the real estate agent is like, you've legally filled out your contracts and you are working for me now until this house is done. And it's like, oh my gosh, how in the world do you trap people that way? That is scary. It's in Ohio of all places. Well, okay, sure, the cast of iCarly going to Ohio, not a special thing. And then in the B plot, it's actually just as interesting. I kind of like this one better, if anything. So Freddie finds out that Lubert is left behind because he doesn't have any friends. So he kind of gets guilted into throwing Lubert his own bachelor party. And Lubert's like, okay, cool. Of course, Freddie has to rope Spencer into this whole ordeal. And it's like, Spencer never got friends his own age. He still only hangs out with these kids. I feel like we could have at least made that a little more realistic. That would have been fun any point in this series to like see Spencer outside of this core group. But hey, I guess they just wanted to stick to what the original show was. They somehow rope Paul into this, which is making it feel less meta and more like they're just trying to plug in Josh Peck to as much as they can, which fair enough, honestly, it does bring up the quality a lot. Definitely keeps me watching. And Josh Peck is portrayed as this like really lonely manager, and he's like trying so hard to fit in with this group so he could have friends, which is kind of crazy. I don't know, his desperation in this episode seems so out of character. Meanwhile, Carly and everybody on the Bachelorette trip are miserable, even though they have these matching pink outfits, which I think is kind of worth the entire trip. Fair enough. They try to get out of the whole situation, but they can't. So Freddie's mom ends up throwing a whole tantrum and hiding within the walls of the building, more so to get away from Carly. She really doesn't like Carly at this point, which how could you blame her? She pretty much ruined this whole trip, let alone like her taking Freddie from her. Like, I don't know. It just feels like a lot is not working out in Carly's favor for this. Meanwhile, Freddie ends up throwing this like surprise party, doesn't really think it through. So once Lubert is surprised, there's not really anything else. It's just a bunch of disco and then everybody here, but nothing to do. It's not a real party, which is kind of funny.
It's happening! I'm the Betty!
I do wish they leaned into more of the guys' trip because I think it could have been really funny, but hey, it's okay. They end up essentially showing up to the other bachelorette party and helping everybody get out of their contracts, which is kind of sweet. Meanwhile, Mrs. Benson is still trapped in the walls, so nobody really knows what to do, and then Carly volunteers to go in and talk her out of it, which is kind of sweet.
Come to Toledo, get together, flip a house, have a few laughs.
Bruce Willis, you damn national treasure! How the hell did you make it look so easy?
It's nice to know that Carly cares enough about Mrs. Benson that she'll talk her down from this, although it's weird because I feel like the way they've addressed Freddie and his mom's relationship has always been like a joke. To have it be like really ridiculous and then randomly grounded, like she actually is so serious about this, makes it seem like every other time they were joking about it is a little bit rude, because it's like this is a grown woman who is clearly missing her son and they only had to go this far in order to deal with it. Like, I get it, it's funny, it's fun to watch her be overprotective, but at the end of the day, it's kind of sad. So Carly goes in and somehow has the magic touch and is able to convince her otherwise. I do feel like this conversation gets resolved a little too quickly for my taste, and Lubert, of all people, is the one who saves all the girls from their bachelorette trip. He brings out his lawyer side, which I wasn't expecting, but hey, very convenient from last season.
I'd like to talk about your little employment contract.
Oh, snap, it's his lawyer voice.
And gets them out of their contracts, allowing them to leave. And I guess they don't ever have an official bachelorette party. This doesn't really feel like a happy ending to me. It feels like a normal ending to a basic episode. And then it ends with Paul throwing his own TV show.
This is the Paul Show, and I am Paul. This is the Paul Show, and I am Paul.
And Lubert explaining how to make lube juice.
Lube juice. It's a delicious libation and a darn strong foot exfoliant. Shall I pour?
Which is gross because it's like Lubert's, like, I don't know, fancy drink. All around, it's a disgusting idea. But this actually makes me wish Paul did his own web series or like had an episode where Carly had to collab or some reason. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of internet tropes that they could have covered that didn't quite get to yet, but then they replaced it with a bunch of character tropes that didn't necessarily need to happen. Like, I feel like this whole plotline with Freddie's mom just was unnecessary.
Here's Mommy!
But hey, I think there were some good positive parts of this episode, like seeing Paul, Lubert, Freddie, and Spencer team up. But when you think about it, they didn't really do anything throughout this. They just teamed up and then moved on to the plot. So I don't know. I feel like the pacing of these shows can be weird sometimes. All around, though, it's exciting to hype me up for the end of the series, but I already feel like I'm missing out on a bunch of stuff that they could have done. So hey, I'm not gonna have expectations. The next episode is probably more of a Harper episode, which is definitely really nice because I feel like Harper really doesn't get a lot of plots to herself, let alone Millicent. I feel like Millicent deserves so many more plots than she got. She's like in it so little and it bothers me a lot.
And you're just mean.
I'm an acquired taste.
So Tinsley is Harper's girlfriend, and she is a part of the 1% and likes to remind us of that, how rich she is. So Harper is trying to get Tinsley and Carly to be really close friends. The pressure's on Carly to try to fit in, but she is clearly not a part of the 1%, and it's just embarrassing. Tinsley shows them her jewelry, and Carly loves like one of them so much, and Tinsley's like, just keep it. Like, I would throw it out anyway, which is so funny because it's such a human thing to do, to get somebody to take something by like begging them to take it, and like, I don't know, I feel like that's just kind of how this goes. So Carly ends up keeping this. It's an $80,000 necklace. Oh my gosh.
I think they were like 80.
$80?
No, 80,000.
80,000. I can't.
Pirates!
In real life, I definitely agree with Carly. I feel like I would totally turn this in for money.
No! I have to buy a safe. I'm seeing a Groupon for 2-for-1 safes. Does anyone else need a safe?
Maybe I can borrow.
Get back! These are precious gems.
Well, so she donates this to a cat donation fund, which is actually kind of sweet. Of course, Millicent knows the most about it, and that's as much as she gets in the episode. They're gonna have this whole cat charity later, and it's gonna be fun, I'll tell you that much. Carly find out that that was actually worth a lot to Tinsley, and Tinsley just lied just to get her to take it, which, oh my god, this all sounds like a horrible setup. If somebody asks you to keep something, it definitely is yours from then on, and Carly just took it way too far in this moment. I love that the episode is about cats. Like, for some reason, it's just very positive for me. I love the kitties. Freddy apparently doesn't and is scared of kitties, so Spencer suggests exposure therapy, which could only go one way, as you can imagine, the iCarly way. But we're gonna move on from that for now. Carly tries to get the necklace back so that Tinsley doesn't get mad, and Harper is very insistent on Carly doing so, basically like threatening her, which, come on, Harper, like, Carly's your friend. And she's like, you better get her that necklace back, when really Tinsley forced it upon her. Carly really didn't need it, okay guys? That's just what I want to clear for the record. So Carly has to do borderline illegal things, which means like going undercover, somehow getting this necklace back, which is really dangerous. And this old rich woman is the only person she has to get around, which is, I kind of find really funny. And yeah, meanwhile, she's trying to hide it from Tinsley that she even lost it in the first place.
Ever you wear them, think of my Nana Edna, who died clutching them, her most prized possession. Toodles.
Then Spencer in the B-plot gets really funny because I guess Cats was coming out at this time. You know, the musical Cats was adapted into a movie, and it was definitely a horror fest of visuals with all the humanoid cats and famous people taking on humanoid cats. It was weird. It was very weird. So Spencer dresses up like one of those cats exactly, which is actually really funny, the fact that he's doing it ironically, and that movie was not ironic, and starts seducing Freddy, essentially, putting him in a giant cat ball. This is just all around good comedy for me. I wish it didn't last so short, but hey, it was definitely priceless.
Let the exposure therapy begin.
So they're here to all honor this famous, like, TikTok online cat. That's the one that Spencer made the palace for. And Carly uses this as a getaway to finally get to the necklace. So yeah, the really famous cat goes and takes a liking to Freddy, which is actually super hilarious, and Freddy is, like, barely surviving it. All around, I think it's just funny that Freddy is scared of cats and then it has to like him. And the old woman goes a little bit crazy, blaming even Tinsley for how this is all turning out, and yeah, it's not a good look. So Carly ends up stepping up and defending Tinsley for this old woman, and it's kind of sweet to see her step in, and I like that Carly actually cares. It definitely makes up for the fact that she stole the necklace. My favorite part of this episode is the very end when this old woman hisses at Carly just for calling her out on her stuff, which is kind of crazy. Like, how can you see a grown woman hiss at another person? Like, I don't know, that's just wacky to me, but it's funny because it's a cat. I feel like, how funny would it be if this was like Miss Briggs? Like, why couldn't this just be like a Miss Briggs character? Like, this woman definitely gives me the pretentious vibes of it, and she was a villain, so it wouldn't have been weird, but hey, I guess it's just way past the prime. So yeah, in the end, Tinsley, like, forgives Carly, and Carly's, oh, well, you could have told me that before I pulled an illegal act. And Harper really bothers me in this episode because this is like your friend. Despite the fact you just got into this relationship, Carly has clearly been there for you before, so I don't know why she's not on her side. But then again, I'm watching too much reality TV, so maybe I'm just extra worried about it all. And the episode ends with Spencer drinking out of a cat bowl. All around crazy episode. I liked it when Spencer was dressed as a cat. I don't know why, that's just so funny to me. The rest of it was kind of crazy, putting Carly in a situation where she had to commit grand larceny. I don't know. Cat-tillion, the pun is all around enough to make up for all these mistakes. And this episode I would consider definitely a 7 out of 10. Really, really above average for this season, guys. So definitely watch this one. So in the next episode, which is the second to last of the entire series, we have to make note of because this is coming to a close. And I don't know if I'm supposed to feel emotional or weirdly nostalgic for the first one anymore. Like, I feel like I'm very confused on how I'm emotionally supposed to approach this. Gwen comes back. I don't know if you remember from the first season, but Gwen is Freddy's ex-wife and Millicent's mother. I guess they adopted her together. Kind of rude, but whatever. And Carly and Freddy are finally ready to tell her that they are together. And it becomes this game of like, when is the right time to tell her? And Freddy realizes that the most important thing at stake is Millicent. Like, it turns out if the mom isn't super approving of this, that Millicent might not be able to be around Carly. And that's kind of scary, but very real, you know? If you're talking about custody over a kid, I do feel it's more important to know who it is. Or the fact that Carly is around her all the time anyway should make the stakes a lot lower. I don't know. This is ridiculous to me. Turns out that Gwen is super judgmental anyway. Her and Millicent talk as if they're like girlfriends, not like mother and daughter. Kind of bothers me. Gwen is very insistent on not wanting to spend time with Carly, just her family this time, which is kind of hard for Carly because she's, you know, technically a part of the family if Freddy takes it seriously. Which, by the way, you can't not take it seriously. If anything, I'd be kind of annoyed if I were Gwen because of their relationship. With the episode titled I Create a New Ecosystem, it's really confusing to me like what this could be about, and then I realized that it's because Freddy sees a bunch of psychology books and is like, okay, what is the center of Gwen's ecosystem, which is kind of like a psychological term, I guess? I still don't know, but yeah, so they're just trying to get Carly to look better with Millicent. Harper gives Carly the idea to win over Gwen by having a family fun day, a FAFUDA, which I never heard, never thought that was an abbreviation. I'm sorry, I don't know how to put that down anymore, that this is not a part of our reality. Paul gets weaved into the plot once again, which is kind of crazy, and he's so desperate this time, even more than a couple episodes before. He's basically just, hey, I could be anywhere, I could do anything, and it's like, oh my gosh, it definitely feels like the economy we're in right now when it comes to applying for a job, or Josh Peck. I relate to it, so it's hard to look down on it. And he's just so funny, so it's really hard not to excuse this. He ends up hitting on Gwen for most of this, which I don't know why Freddy is just okay with. It's definitely a really rude friend to me. Halfway through the episode, it ends up being like bigger shock because Spencer finds a book about pregnancy. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, because it's all about the books Freddy found. Yeah, so there's a misinterpretation that Carly might be pregnant, which is insane. Lubert, Mrs. Benson, and Spencer freak out running around the apartment, which is actually really funny. I don't know why, I think that's a really good part. I also didn't get a chance to see that everybody was in on the fact that Carly wasn't known to be dating Freddy. Do they know that Gwen is supposed to be a secret? I don't know. It's kind of ridiculous to me. So they end up having this party, and every step of the way is just an awkward miss, where Carly doesn't look super good in front of Gwen, which is hard because they were best friends, so clearly there must be something there. Paul hits on Gwen a lot, and again, don't know how to address this.
Let's kick off this phone party. Inhibition's optional.
Everything goes haywire, not even for like a specific reason, just a bunch of specific small reasons. Spencer gets Lubert and Mrs. Benson in a fight because they don't know where they're gonna live next. They're arguing all throughout this outdoor thing. Freddy just dropped the fact that they're trying to look good in front of Gwen and is tearing up the shirts that they got. By the way, the shirt's atrocious. It's so weird looking, but honestly, I love it when everybody matches in a weird way. Lubert accidentally blurts out that Carly's pregnant, and everybody is like super excited for a moment, and that's what reveals that Gwen finds out.
You two are together?
Hi, Gwen!
And everybody's like, I don't know, this is such a crazy moment because there is no bigger reason for everybody to react to them being together than this. So Gwen gets really upset and is like, Millicent, you're coming with me. And yeah, it's just really sad to think about her being taken away, especially 2 episodes before the finale, but hey, stakes are being raised. Nobody is really supportive of this, mostly even Millicent, who runs away into the foam pit, which, you guys had a foam pit? How in the world did Carly manage to get a foam pit? I would have made that the center point of this whole adventure. adventure. And you know what? It would have been an amazing party. Carly talks to Millicent, and it kind of makes it seem like she's a good mother, and really she didn't do anything. She just talked to her for a second. Freddie and Gwen then join them in the bubbles, which it's like you couldn't have let them walk out of the bubble. I don't know. This was so unnecessary. I get it's trying to be funny, but it's like it didn't need to be realistic. I don't know. All around, everybody enters the bubbles, and it's a weird situation until Harper comes up with a boombox and they all start dancing, which is kind of sweet. I guess that's a really positive ending. Only to find out that there's bugs in all the suds that they were talking about earlier in the episode. Kind of crazy. Next thing you know, there's bugs everywhere, and that is literally how the episode ends. Bugs everywhere. And I'm so disgusted with literally a tarantula climbing on Spencer's face. But hey, they're following in the Dan Schneider footsteps of making the endings stupid and out of place. What can I say? No, I'm just kidding. All around, it's a pretty good episode, but the stakes are just unrealistic. Some of this stuff is just so unbelievable. At least the original iCarly was basing their stories off of life experiences, but these are clearly not life experiences. They're life ideas and experiences you might go through, but then they threw characters in and just made it a reality. And I don't think that is the point of the iCarly universe, but hey, I guess we're just gonna move on for now. Because it's time to finally end this entire retrospective 33 episodes of this brand new series, which is literally not even the full second season of the original iCarly itself, and we're already winded down completely. Although this show is a lot more serialized, so I feel like it makes sense to wrap up a certain way, especially since way back then we used to have so many more episodes, and now that they're adults, they can only film 10 a year. Like, that's the part that's ridiculous to me. Like, when they were kids, you weren't afraid to bleach them out of like 30 episodes, and now they're just doing 10. I feel like they're definitely capable of doing more than that and taking their time more with these stories, but you know what? Hey, I'm gonna move on and take it for what it is, which is not a bad show. Then we go to the final episode to completely end it all. I Have a Proposal. And yeah, this is about Lubert and Miss Benson's wedding. It becomes a lot more important and about Freddie and Carly, which it has to be, when we talk about Freddie's obsession with asking people to marry him. At first, Carly is like kind of talking about getting married, and Freddie thinks it's this hint.
I think Carly wants me to propose.
Propose what?
Mrs. Benson ends up firing Danica for being her maid of honor, which is a crazy last-minute decision, really disrespectful, and yet everybody's acting like it's this beautiful thing. Oh my gosh. Carly ends up getting it because she's the one that's actually pulling through for everybody. She gets everything organized, and it's gorgeous. This place looks awesome, so it's gonna be one of the best marriages ever. Freddie is like, I can't wait to spend all my life with you, and she thinks that this is like a full-on like marriage type thing, and she gets nervous. Freddie gets advice from Spencer that like, hey, is Carly expecting me to propose? Because maybe. And then it seems like this is actually gonna happen. She's expecting him to propose. So Spencer is like, oh, this is so cool. I'm gonna like be the one in between this and actually like, scope it out for you. So he goes to talk to Carly about it and is pretty abrupt. I mean, he's her brother, so I don't know why he wouldn't be so straightforward. So he's like, what would you do if Freddie asked you to marry him? And then she freaks out. She's like, no, no, no way. And oh my gosh, I don't think it should be that negative, Carly. You guys have been building up for this for like tens of years now. There has to be some little surprise to it. And yeah, so she says hard no. When Spencer delivers this to Freddie, it gets really depressing really quickly. It's like, how in the world could they be together if that's the way they view marriage? You know, it seems like a huge deal and everybody's worried about it. Spencer ends up bringing the illegal fireworks to the wedding, which is kind of crazy. I didn't even realize Carly was able to use fake fireworks. And then she finds out that Spencer told Freddie she doesn't want to get married. So it gets even more chaotic. Actually, no, it gets even more chaotic when the fireworks go off and the entire venue is ruined. But yeah, Carly's debating if she even wants to get married, starts bringing up the fact that this is all a question she never had because of her mom. And then they talk about her mom. Apparently, Carly's never wanted to talk about her mom, and that's why they never went over this. That's why it's never been discussed, which I kind of find crazy. Seeing Spencer react so sensitively to it, though, makes it so real that I, like, can't even deny it. And I like that. I like that it's, like, all this deep connection to her. Like, it's definitely bringing back the conversation. I wish it was done, like, a little bit earlier, because it feels like an afterthought, you know? Carly and Freddie have a really disappointing conversation that makes it seem like they're not gonna want to get married, but they end up confiding in each other and realizing that they're meant to be. So, okay, good. They're not broken up. They just had a really really short miscommunication about it, which didn't really lead to anything. Kinda depressing. And meanwhile, everybody's getting ready for the Benson marriage. This part actually drives me insane. So apparently they ditched their own wedding. Yeah, Mrs. Benson and Lubert left their own wedding to get hitched in Vegas after paying for all of this, letting Carly be the one in charge of it. I can't believe this even like happened the way it did. It just bothers me so much. So all around there's this entire wedding just chilling and not knowing what to do. The wedding is off. So Carly freaks out and everybody else is confused on what to do. Millicent is upset because she doesn't know who to marry. And I don't know why this felt self-imposed, but Carly and Freddie are like, okay, let's do it. Let's get married right here, right now. And that's what you think is about to happen and end the entire episode. But then for some reason, Carly's mom shows up.
Mom? You got a mom?
Oh my gosh, biggest shock of the series. The mom shows up at supposedly Carly's wedding, but it's really Mrs. Benson and Lubert's wedding. This is such a confusing aspect because it's like, why would Carly's mom show up to some other person's wedding? Like, I mean, I really want to know what the intentions behind this are because a lot of the story going forward can ruin this story for me. So kind of bugs me that it ends on a cliffhanger. I can't believe they didn't confirm if they got like a season 4 or not. There had to be some kind of inkling that this was not gonna happen. I don't know. 3 seasons is pretty good, but in this context, when it like ends on a cliffhanger, it's not. It's not pretty good, and it makes me really frustrated because the original series didn't even end on a cliffhanger, so why does this one have to? It almost undoes all the progress that iCarly was set out to make. I feel like if this show went on for 1 or 2 more seasons, it could have made up for all that fact, but it got cut. You know what? It feels like everybody's fault. You brought back iCarly just to hype us up and get us excited, but then you took it away from us just as quickly. I mean, 3 seasons later, but still, 33 episodes is not enough for me to develop feelings for these characters. But yeah, so the 3rd season of iCarly, the final season of this new reboot, was definitely a exciting endeavor into the iCarly universe, going through so many more cameos than we ever imagined, having Josh Peck be a huge part of it, despite his growing desperation by the end of the series. Yeah, that character really falls downhill. We get like a lot of good closure moments with Lubert and Marissa Benson, which is kind of sweet. Like, we didn't expect all the parents to have a resolution. Harper's plots never got interesting enough for me, which is kind of depressing. I feel like Harper was such a good character, and being an Aries, which is kind of funny. You know, she had a lot of potential to do more than she did, but she was just like a critical friend at a bunch of different points. She would just basically talk Carly out of things or into things, and she was just like a plot device, which really disappoints me because she has a lot of funny moments. I did like when she was like trying to get the dress for Mrs. Benson. That was a really good plot. Millicent was stunted the most out of all the characters. Since the very beginning in this show was announced, Carly being exposed to this Gen Z girl would be like a great obstacle for her to deal with. That's when I thought the show would be great, and I was like, okay, cool. This is gonna be all about that. And yeah, Millicent never really got a plot to herself ever. Okay, you know, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it feels like that. It was either somebody else's issue that Millicent was dealing with, or Millicent got in the way. I don't know. It's just not fair the way she was treated throughout this series, and I feel like it definitely could have strengthened it a lot more. But all around, the show just feels like it's trying to recreate iCarly in a really specific way. With all the pop culture references that they never had in the original show, some of it was really annoying to me. It's not a complete misfire. I don't think it's like the worst revival ever. If anything, it's got some really nice moments, but you know what? If you're an original iCarly fan, you probably should skip this, unless you're a major fan. This is really for the major fans of iCarly, the people that just will see the characters do anything and just be happy. They just want proof that these characters are still alive and well, and you know what? They are. They definitely have some really shining moments. Seeing Spencer dressed up as a cat will never get old for me, but all around, yeah, that's just how I view it. But what did you guys think? What was your favorite season? Even your favorite episode? This was such an interesting watch. I don't even know how to break it down. Thank you guys so much for watching and being a part of all this. Thank you guys, and have a great day.